Hello friends, welcome back to Job Code. Today, we will dive into the exciting world of interactive controls in .NET MAUI. We will learn to create user-friendly interfaces that respond to actions like button clicks, image taps, and search inputs. So let's build together. Before we get hands-on, let's explore the controls that we will cover in this session. We will learn about button control, image button, radio button, search bar, and swipe view. These controls allow users to interact with your app seamlessly. Let's get started with examples. I am inside my Visual Studio Code and I have already created a project named as Event Driven Controls Demo. Let's add a new content page into this project. For that, right click on the project, click on New File and select .NET MAUI content page. Let's name this page as Event Driven Controls Demo page and press enter. Now our default content page is created with a vertical stack layout and a label inside it. So let's remove this label control and look at our first example. Let me add a button control here with a text saying click me. Also, let us add this page as our initial page during our application start. So let's go to app.xaml.cs file and replace this with our new page. Let's save it and run the application. We can see that now our button control is visible here. But when we click on this button, nothing happens because we have not attached any event handler to this button. So let's go ahead and attach an event handler to this button control. To do that, we can use the clicked property of the button control. When I press enter and equals to, you can see it is asking us to add new event handler. So let's click on it. We can name it anything. So you can see now an event handler named as button underscore clicked has been added to my button control. Now to add some action on click of button, let's get inside this event handler and write some code. So let's hover your mouse on this event handler and press F12. As you can see, a method has been created for that specific event. Let's write some code here to display some alert whenever user clicks on the button. For that, I will be using the display alert method, which takes the title, message, and the cancel string. So let's give the title as event triggered, and let me set the message to button clicked, and let's set the cancel string to OK. Now, when we save and run the application again, now this time, when I click on the button, we can observe that an alert has been displayed here, and it is showing event triggered as the title, button clicked as the message, and OK as the cancel string, which we have set in the code behind of the button clicked event. So this is how we can make use of the event handler of the different controls and write some custom code. Let's move to our next control called as image button control. In this control, we can set the source property as an image. Let me set the source of this image button to .NET underscore bot.png. And similar to the button control, we can also add the clicked event handler to the image button. We can either create a new event handler and can also point it to the same event handler which we created for our button control. So let's point it to the same button clicked event which we created for our button control. Now when we run the application, we can see that our image is being displayed here. And this time, when I click on the image, the event gets triggered and we can see our alert. Now let's move to our next control called radio button control. Let me add a new radio button here. Radio button has a property called content in which we can set the text which we want to display alongside the radio button. So let me set this to option 1. Let me create another radio button and change the content to option 2. Now radio button also have an event called checked changed. Let us create new event handler for this. Now a new event handler called radio button underscore checked changed has been created. Let me use the same event for our second radio button. Now let's go ahead and write some code inside this event. In this event also, I want to display an alert which gives us information about which radio button was checked. So this event is being called from a radio button, and we can use the content property of the radio button to display the information about which button was selected. So let's go ahead and refresh our application. As we can see now, we have two radio buttons available to us with their content set to option 1 and option 2. Now if I select the radio button 1, the alert is triggered and it is also giving us information about which radio button was selected. Similarly, if I select the second radio button, the information gets changed and we can see the information about the second radio button. Let's look at one more case with the radio buttons. Suppose if we have multiple groups of radio buttons, in that case, how we can make use of the group property of the radio button. So let's go back. Let me copy and paste these two radio buttons and let's name them as option 3 and option 4. Let's also add a label control here which gives us information that these two radio buttons belong to group 1. Let me copy this label control and paste it here as well. And let's rename it to group 2. Now, radio button has another property called group name. Let us add the group name for the first two radio button to group 1 and other two radio buttons to group 2. Let's save it and rerun the application. Now we can see we have two group of radio buttons created. Now if I select the radio button from group 1 and also select a radio button from group 2, so we are able to select the two radio buttons together because these two radio buttons are inside one group and these two radio buttons are inside another group. If I try to select the radio button from same group, then the other radio button will get unchecked. So this is how we can make use of the group name property of the radio button and bind the radio buttons into a group. Let's talk about our next control called SearchBar. This control is used to search some text in our application. The SearchBar also has a property called placeholder, which we can use to display some placeholder text. So let's add some text here. Let me set the background for the search bar to white. And this also has an event called search button pressed, which gets triggered whenever we press the search button on our keyboard. So let's add a new event handler for this event. Let's go to the code behind. For this event also, I want to display some alert whenever user presses the search button. So here I am using the text property of the search bar to display in the alert. Let me save it and run the application. We can observe that now our search bar is visible and also it is showing search here as the placeholder text. So let me write some text here in the search bar. Let me write my text and press enter. Now you can see the alert gets triggered and it is also displaying the text which I wrote in the search bar. Now let's talk about our last control called SwipeView. As its name suggests, this control is used to swipe some items on the screen. So whenever we talk about swiping items, we can either swipe to left or to right. So inside SwipeView, we need to define in which direction the items will be shown when user does the swipe. To define that, SwipeView has two properties. One is left items and another is right items. So let us say we want to display the items to the left of the main item. Now inside this, we need to add our swipe items. So now let me copy and paste some items here. Here I have added two items which will be displayed whenever the user swipes the item to the left. So the one item is delete and another is favorite and its color is set to red and green. And I have also set the images to these items. Now this swipe item also has an event called invoked, to which we have attached an event handler called onSwipeItemInvoked. So let's go to the code behind and write some code. Now here also I want to display an alert whenever user taps on any of the swipe items. So let me add an alert here which says swipe action invoked. Now there is one more thing we need to do. As we have added our swipe items, we also need to add our main item which we will be using to do the swipe. Let's add label control as our main item and I have set the text of this to swipe me right. Now when we refresh the application, we can see that our main item, that is label control, is being displayed here. Now when we swipe this to right, we can see our other two swipe items being displayed. As we can see, the image is not being displayed here properly. So to fix that, let's go back and set the height and width request for this swipe view. Let me set its height to 50 and width to 300. Let's rerun it again. Now this time, when I swipe this to right, we can see that our items are displayed here properly. Now if I click on any of the item, our alert is also being displayed correctly. So that's it for this video, guys. In this video, we have explored how to use event-driven controls in .NET MAUI to build interactive experiences. I would recommend you to try these examples and share your creations with us. Stay tuned for more tutorials and don't forget to like, share and subscribe to Chopcode. Thanks, and I will see you in the next one.